Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal, religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. I want to begin this morning, as always, by welcoming all that you come with this morning, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this includes those of you who are in the room with us, including those who may be new to our community or visiting us even for the first time. You're equally as welcome. So welcome to one and all. And of course, welcome to the many of you who are streaming with us this morning. It's also great to have all of you with us. We're still looking for some volunteers to host a live Zoom of our service where you can actually engage with each other, maybe even hang out in the Zoom room for a social time after the service. So if you're a regular streamer and would be interested in hosting a Zoom room, please let me know. It's been working out. It's been a lot of fun having folks join us the first service, and we can interact a little bit with them. All right, I do want to make a couple of announcements, and unfortunately, our unity candle is lit at the front of our sanctuary here. This is something we do, as many of you know, when we lose one of our members during the week. And actually, church member Phil Rodriguez passed away on the 21st after a long struggle with cancer. We are going to have his celebration of life here at 2 o'clock on Saturday, October 15th. Phil was a really great guy. He left us way too soon, and we're going to miss him. And I ask that you please keep his wife, Barbara, who's a very dear woman, and her entire family in your thoughts at this time as they grieve his absence. Okay, speaking of Zoom, I'm also very excited about next week's service because we are going to do something we've not done. We're going to have a guest speaker who will be Zooming in remotely. And I will be here sort of leading the service next Sunday, but actually my friend and colleague, some of you have probably met or heard of him, or maybe even met him, Reverend Craig Mora, who lives on the west side in Portland, but he's been a lot of support. He's a brilliant man and a wonderful speaker, especially the way he takes stories and myths and helps find the meaning in them. So I love his style. He's actually inspired me a lot in my own sermonizing. But he's also has great interest and familiarity with the Islamic faith and is even able to read the Quran in its original language. So he is going to be speaking on a sermon entitled Enduring the Ridiculous, drawing upon his knowledge of the Sufi poet Rumi, the Quran, Salman Rushdie's The Satanic Verses, and the heretical writings of some other author you may know. And again, I'll be leading that service and hope you'll join us. You'll join us next Sunday for Craig's presentation. He'll be doing both services, yes. Yes, so, good question, thank you. Okay, so let's take a few moments now to greet one another. If you are joining us for the first time, please don't be shy. We're very glad you're here. If you're streaming with us, feel free to shoot me a text or somebody a text or an email.
With the candle issue, is that something that the lay leader should be
more opportunity to visit with one another after our service during our social hour, but let's move forward now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection is a poem I wrote inspired by the image of artist Georgia O'Keeffe looking out at the New Mexico landscape from her studio. It was on a postcard, and it begins with an epigraph, a quotation I found on the postcard. The poem is entitled Postcard Wisdom, and the quotation is, "An artist is someone who finishes things," which I don't necessarily agree with, but anyway. An artist is someone who finishes things, and I know that Georgia O'Keeffe, gazing out her studio window at the endless New Mexico horizon, was compelled to paint those bison skulls and enlarged flowers because she needed to finish some kind of conversation within herself about bones and dust, stamen and petal, sky and cloud, in a symmetry of beautiful relationship. But until we view her art, it remains unfinished. For in looking at it, we each renew this conversation within ourselves, and beauty continues to ask her interesting questions.
Our first in-service hymn of the morning is With Heart and Mind. You will find it up on the screen, or if you wish, in your hardback hymnal, and the number is 300. Please rise as you're willing and able to sing it.
To make our purpose understood, a mortal search for mortal good, a firm commitment to the goal of justice, freedom, peace for all. A mind that's free to seek the truth, a mind that's free in age and youth, to choose a path no threat impedes, wherever light of conscience leads. Our martyrs died so we could be a church where every mind is free. A heart that's kind, a heart to search, makes love the spirit of our church, where we can grow and each one's gift is sanctified and spirits lift, where every door is open wide for all who choose to step inside.
And we will now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds. We're going to begin this morning, as we have been, with a candle on behalf of the people of Ukraine who are suffering terrible violence and destruction there, as well as others in that region of the world. And another candle for Barbara Rodriguez as she grieves the loss of her husband, Phil. We kindle a candle for church member Al Toutant, who had a bad fall recently and is not doing well. Yeah, please keep him and Bernie and their entire family in your thoughts at this time. A candle for church member Eleanor Enns, whose son is in need of an organ transplant. Obviously, Eleanor is extremely concerned. And a candle for Gil Murray, who has pneumonia and likewise is not doing very well. And finally, a candle for the people in Puerto Rico and Florida and other parts of the country whose lives have been devastated by the hurricanes that have happened recently. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Paint your silver arrow with the sky glow, and when it comes to pierce your heart, let it overflow. You can lay your head on me, I am strong like the willow tree, tall enough to reach the stars, wide as the open sea. So come out, my bright one, we are walking home, hand in hand like kings and queens, we are walking home. We are walking home. Lilies and iris, white and blue, try to steal my eyes away, but I would not miss a moment of you. You can lay your head on me, I am strong like the willow tree, tall enough to reach the stars, wide as the open sea. So come out, my bright one, we are walking home, hand in hand like kings and queens, we are walking home. We are walking home. The years will come and go, and all will dissolve. The only thing I need is this love. The years will come and go, and all will dissolve. But the only thing I need is this love. Join us. We are walking home. We are walking home. We are walking home. We are walking home.
Thank you so. Thank you. Oh, here we go. Check. There it is. Thank you, Todd. I tell you, we have given Todd Milne so much to do back there. I don't know how he keeps up with it, so I don't mind a missed mic now and then. But as I was saying, Stanton, I know I told you this first service, but I want everyone to hear it again. It's always just so great to have you join us and share your talent with us. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks. I love being here.
So time for our story for all ages. I don't see any kiddos with us this morning, but I know you'll enjoy it anyway. This is kind of a new friend of mine. Some of you remember him. He's been here in the past. This is my friend Avery Mann. How's it going, Avery? Well, pretty good. Still trying to figure myself out, though. Are you? By that, I guess you mean you're still looking for a job. Well, not just any job, no. A job that I like. A job that I'm good at. Well, not having much luck, I take it. Nothing I try seems to work. Well, let's see. Since I've known you, you've been a used car salesman. Oh, that drove me crazy. Yeah, and you worked at the Amazon Fulfillment Center. That wasn't very fulfilling. No. And you were a celebrity impersonator. It just wasn't me. Well, last time you were here, I think you were working as an innovator. You invented an electric toolbox with lots of electric tools. Yeah, I had to give that up too. Yeah, probably wise. Where is it? Yeah, hooking up electrical cords to tools is probably not a great idea. Well, I learned the hard way with my last innovation. Oh, what was that? An electric toothbrush. Oh my gosh, you did not hook an electrical cord to your toothbrush. I did. Avery, tell me you did not plug that electrical cord in and brush your teeth. Well, just for a second. Hence the hairdo. Well, you really need to learn about electricity and how it works before you make any more electrical tools, okay? What else have you tried since we last saw you? Well, I worked briefly as a movie director. Oh, a movie director. That sounds like a lot of fun. What kind of movies did you make? Well, action movies. That sounds kind of exciting. Well, not really. All I did was sit around in the director's chair and say, action, action. Oh, okay. Well, why didn't it work out? Well, my cameraman quit right away. Your cameraman quit right away? Why's that? I didn't have the camera. So you were a movie director without a camera or a camera operator? Well, you've got to start somewhere. Yeah, maybe so. Yeah, Avery, I'm pretty convinced that you could be successful at anything you want to do. You mean that even after the toothbrush incident? Yes, but first you're going to need to take the necessary time to learn what you need to know to do a job. Well, how do I do that? Well, to be good at anything, you need to learn how to do it through education, study, and lots of practice. And certainly, you need to have the right tools, not homemade tools, but the real tools of the trade. Well, that sounds like a lot of work for somebody who doesn't even have the job. Well, nothing worthwhile comes easy, my friend. You have to work at it and take your time, and if you really want to direct movies, you'll need to take film classes and get a camera to practice with. Well, I'm not interested in making movies anymore. No? I've decided I want to write books and become a famous author. You have any advice? See you next time, Avery. Thank you.
If I had a hammer.
Don't forget forget to plug it in.
We're going to switch gears now and move into our meditation. I invite you to find a comfortable, receptive posture. Take a few deep breaths as we enter the silence with these words written by me. Grace, born with the silver spoon of moonlight in our mouths, fed gold on the tongue of dawn each morning, nourished every moment on radiant air, we feast. Blessed with this bounty, we grow ever more full in gratitude.
I'm going to invite you to join me in a responsive reading this morning, number 652 in the back of your gray hymnal, number 652. And for those who are streaming with us, Deb is going to be at a microphone as one of our responders, so you'll be able to hear the full text of our reading this morning. So I will begin and ask the entire congregation to be our respondents. The great end in religious instruction is not to stamp our minds upon the young, but to stir up their own.
Not to make them see with our eyes, but to look inquiringly and steadily with their own.
Not to give them a definite amount of knowledge, but to inspire a fervent love of truth.
Not to form an outward regularity, but to touch inward springs.
Not to bind them by ineradicable prejudices to our particular sect or peculiar notions,
but to prepare them for impartial, conscientious judging of whatever subjects may be offered to their decision.
not to burden the memory, but to quicken and strengthen the power of thought,
Not to impose religion upon them in the form of arbitrary rules, but to awaken the conscience, the moral discernment.
In a word, the great end is to awaken the soul to excite and cherish spiritual life.
I dreamt I was born a girl, living alone in the world, passing the hours away. I looked into the face of sorrow, tempted by the taste of tomorrow and the scent of yesterday. But that was only the dream of a dream. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seas. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening. We are only the dream of a dream. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seeds. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening. Dreamt that I could not find you, always was a step behind you, could not see your face. Wandering around the maze, illusions, dusty haze, soul with no resting place. We are only the dream of a dream. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seas. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening. We are only the dream of a dream. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seas. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening. And only love can lift the veil away. And only love can take its place. And I've traveled long and far just to come home to your grace. Hey, hey. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seas. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening. We are only the dream of a dream. This world is not what it seems. We are the wind that carries the seas. We are the roots of the banyan tree. We are love offered on the wing that stretches across eternity. We are recording life's symphony. We are the silent awakening.
Thanks again, Stanton. And thanks again, Todd. Oh, God. Joe, did you leave your gavel up here last week when you spoke? Wait, didn't Joe do a good job last week? Yeah. He and I are kindred spirits when it comes to our enthusiasm for the future, which I'll be talking a little bit about in this sermon, Preaching to the Preacher. It's become my habit to give a Preaching to the Preacher sermon at the start of each new year, and I missed doing so at the start of this year. So I've decided to do so today before 2021 is no longer last year, but the year before. And I spoke about a variety of matters last year, too many to even briefly touch upon in a single sermon, so I'm going to stick to those that were most meaningful to me. You may have heard me say a couple of weeks ago in my sermon on freedom of the pulpit, my sermons are usually a reflection upon who I am and where I'm at on my own journey. So it's good for me to look back each year and remind myself of where I've been and where I'm coming from. This is why I call this sermon Preaching to the Preacher, because I'm not up here to tell you what I already think I know, but what I'm discovering and reflecting upon in my own life. Obviously, the takeover and dismantling of our liberal religion is a major concern in my life these days. and has been for a number of years, but it is not even close to being all that I ever talk about. Of nearly 40 sermons that I gave in 2021, only one was specifically about the UUA. My October 17th sermon, Correction, Ours is a Liberal Religion, Not a Covenantal One. That year I also gave 2 sermons about liberalism in general and its history and values, in which I mentioned the Unitarian Universalist Association. These were titled How the West Was Lost, about the forces eroding liberalism throughout Western society, and The Good Facebook, about how what is said on social media has erroneously, for some, become like a Bible, an authority that is used to determine what is true. And that was it, just 3 sermons in 2021, mentioning the UUA. If I'd realized this, I would have spoken more about the matter, since I consider it crucial to the survival of our liberal religion. So apologize for being remiss. But as always, I have many things on my mind that I'm thinking and wondering and learning about. So as usual, in 2021, my sermons were all over the place. In January alone, I gave sermons on how an atheist prays, on welcoming the whistleblowers in our midst, and on the January 6th insurrection. In the following months, I spoke about rewiring the brain to better see a more positive world, followed by a sermon on many of the good things that occurred the year before in 2020, despite COVID-19 and so many other problems in the world. We tended to miss a lot of that. I gave sermons about the importance of having humor in our society, about the cost of higher education, about the social significance of Star Trek, about how genuine love overcomes the sadomasochistic tendency, about maintaining a healthy community, about neoteny, that biological tendency of some species, including humans, to maintain juvenile characteristics throughout their lifetimes, to stay forever young. And about becoming better through life's challenges, about the historical evolution of tolerance, about restorative justice, about the nature of unity, and about the tension between freedom and equality. One sermon focused on a Sufi parable, another about the historic significance of female computer programmers, and about the abundance of philosophy versus scarcity, the mindset of scarcity. Another about the history and vital successes of vaccine science, another about Jesus' connection to nature, and another about stopping and reversing global warming, to name just some of what I talked about in 2021. You remember all of those, I'm sure. Again, I couldn't possibly go into much detail about the variety of subjects that I discussed last year, but in looking back at all I had discussed, I was reminded that at the start of 2021, if you can believe it, we were still under lockdown because of the pandemic. Only key personnel and volunteers were allowed in our building during services, about 5 of us altogether. Live streaming our services or watching their recordings were the only options for everyone. For the first quarter of the year, we weren't even allowing guest speakers in our building, so we recommended recorded services from our archive on the Sundays I was off. It wasn't until May of 2021 that we first began having guest speakers again inside, well after the mandates had lifted, and everyone who wanted to be vaccinated at least had an opportunity to do so. Only a year and a half ago. Although things are a lot better now than they were then, the pandemic hasn't ended. I've heard of 2 people today who have COVID. We're still being asked to get booster shots. The global supply chain, as a result of the pandemic, still has major kinks in it. Inflation is on the rise. The global economy remains unstable. Additionally, our use of technologies allowing us to meet, work, learn, and visit remotely has skyrocketed and has permanently changed how we will continue to do things in the future. At our church, more people still choose to attend services on Zoom or by watching our live stream than to come in person. This is unlikely to change, especially as the technology improves and we're better able to engage and interact with each other in these virtual meeting spaces. Hybrid services are the wave of the future. The takeaway, whether everyone likes it or not, is that this is the new way of doing things and will continue even after the pandemic really does finally end. And from this point onward, the continued success of most organizations, including churches, is going to involve how well they embrace, use, and keep up with this transformative technology. When I first started as a Unitarian Universalist minister, only 23 years ago, whether that sounds long or not, only 23 years ago, many organizations, especially churches, still didn't have websites. They required professional coders to construct, which could be costly for small nonprofits, and they weren't yet absolutely necessary, but only a couple years into it, the yellow pages became obsolete, and everyone looking for any kind of information did so on the internet. Today, we would not think about existing without an adequate website. Likewise, the churches of tomorrow, by which I mean within the next couple of years, will not be able to exist without adequate use of remote technologies and without developing rich experiences for their distanced and online members. Things will not be going back to how they were before the pandemic. It was forever changed how we engage with each other and, at the same time, has empowered us to create community well beyond the confines of our brick and mortar buildings. Fortunately, I pride myself on being on the cutting edge of technology, or at least trying to be, which is why our congregation has already been streaming our services for years before COVID-19 came. And I'm aware enough of the coming trends to help prepare us for what comes next, which is why several of my sermons in 2021 were about technology, and why they were among my favorite and the most meaningful to me. I particularly enjoyed learning about pink-collared hackers. For those who remember that one. Nobody. No, some do, I'm sure. So that is one in which the sermon was subtitled, "The Surprising History of Female Programmers in the Computer Age." You remember it now. Yeah, thank you, Dick. Makes me feel good. Somebody's listening. So computational thinking is actually an ancient form of thinking, and the first people to use it in modern times were called computers. Right? People were called computers. When machines eventually came along that made use of some of its principles, they were called mechanical computers in order to distinguish them from ordinary computers, which were humans who used math to make complex calculations. And women were among the very first of them, some of whom turned out to be among the most important innovators in the field. During World War II, the military utilized their skills to help break coded messages. According to MIT's book on computational thinking, the Army commissioned teams of human computers to work out firing tables for their big guns. One of the most well-known of these teams comprised women working at Aberdeen Proving Grounds around 1940. The Best Picture of 2016, Hidden Figures, is also about 3 historic women and their previously unknown and central role in the success of NASA's early space program. Among them was Dorothy Vaughan, acting supervisor of the West Area Computers, a group of African-American female mathematicians at NASA who worked there anyway at NASA from 1943 until 1958, which was just one subset of hundreds of female computers working for NASA since World War II. The first mechanical computer was designed by Charles Babbage in the 1830s, but it was his female partner, Ada Lovelace, a brilliant mathematician, who figured out how to program the analytical engine he'd created by using punch cards, which became the standard method for programming computers for many years, including during the war. So the very first computer programmer in history was female. Lovelace also coined the term the science of operations and is known to this day for having helped establish the features that distinguish computational thinking from other kinds of thinking. She's a founder. And I gave that sermon, as I said then, to celebrate the extraordinary contributions of thousands of brilliant women during the past century, thousands of hidden figures, who made our nation safer and modern life better for all of us in significant ways. And as the father of a wonderful young woman whom I'm extremely proud of, I want to inspire everyone, especially the young women and girls among us, by reminding you that you are just as brilliant and just as capable as anyone of accomplishing your dreams and of doing great things for humanity. It's no secret that I love technology and put many of my hopes in the future on our ability to use it to help overcome some of our greatest challenges. Technology is but an advanced form of tool making, and tool making is what our species does best. In fact, it could be described as our specification. As inventor, futurist Ray Kurzweil has said, no other tool-using animal on Earth has demonstrated the ability to create and retain innovations in their use of tools. Thus, as a humanist, which means by definition, I believe in the goodness, potential, and agency of humanity, I see technology, as destructive as it can be, as a force for good in the world, especially when it is driven by the humanistic ethic, which requires everything that we do to be in service of human welfare and individual unfolding. I even gave a sermon last November about the most transformative technologies of the year, including the gene editing tech known as CRISPR, which was used that year to cure a particular form of blindness, as a means of treating arthritis, to block the coronavirus from ever taking hold, and approved for human trials in testing a cure for HIV. I talked about the tremendous improvements in artificial intelligence technologies that year, especially those involving the deployment of autonomous vehicles. Starship Technologies used them to make over 1 million deliveries. Singapore became the first city to charge passengers to ride on autonomous buses, and China became the first country to allow driverless robotaxis. In the States, FedEx began using driverless delivery vehicles, and Domino's Pizza did so in Houston, Texas. And it was in 2021 that major automakers like Toyota, Hyundai, and Honda all began investing huge in autonomous vehicles. By the way, I just heard a statistic this week, frightening statistic, that every second in this world there's an automobile accident. And every 23 seconds somebody is killed in an automobile accident. I'm looking forward to letting the computers navigate. But the technology of the year had to be the vaccine technology that allowed science to deliver COVID-19 vaccines at breakneck speeds. In fact, I ended up giving an entire sermon on vaccines, I should say, entitled Vaccination Nation. I'm sure you remember that one. About the history of vaccinations, the science behind it, and how much it has improved our lives and our society, child mortality rates, and our own lifespans. In the past, in the very recent past, we would not have been able to develop a vaccine for COVID-19 for many years. But as I said in my sermon, in less than a year of the outbreak, we had developed several vaccines, not by rushing as many claim, but by using modern genomics to sequence the virus, modern communications to share information instantly with other scientists across the globe, machine learning that can quickly search articles for potential new drug combinations, computer databases that can predict outbreaks and help us respond before they worsen, along with new techniques to signal our own messenger RNA to create immune responses. This is amazing to have that happen in less than a year. That's usually the stuff they show in disaster movies, right? Find somebody who's immune, get their blood, put it in a shaker, and you save the world. That doesn't really usually happen in real life, but it happened in a sense in this case. So as impressive as this is, my favorite technology sermon of 2021 was Cool It, about some of the mounting number of new tools we can use to stop and even reverse global warming. Some of the most exciting to me are those that can pull cold water up from the lower depths of the ocean to weaken hurricanes, to get out in front of them and weaken the strength of hurricanes, and also to act as a buffer between glaciers and the warming seas, to prevent them from melting. I also liked the artificial lightning maker that can cause clouds to condense and make rain in parched places suffering from drought, along with artificial trees that can capture a ton of carbon dioxide per day. That's an amount living trees would take a lifetime to sequester. I also talked about the nonprofit ocean cleanups technology that is successfully keeping plastic out of the ocean and cleaning up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's an amazing undertaking to think that they are cleaning it up. They're getting rid of it. And the announcement of Elon Musk's $100 million X Prize to the team that comes up with the best carbon sequestering technology that demonstrates a working solution at a scale of at least 1,000 tons removed per year, model their cost at a scale of 1 million tons per year, and show a pathway to achieving a scale of gigatons per year in the future. That's a 4-year contest that will conclude in 2025. And with the largest incentive prize in history, it is guaranteed to succeed. In fact, Musk has said, "I will not lose. I will even give more if necessary." People often ask how I can maintain such a positive view of the future, given all that's going on in the world and the many challenges before us. My belief in humanity and the extension of our humanity through the creation of our tools is a major reason that I stay optimistic. which is why I also talk a lot about technology in my sermons, including this one. But I'm also an amateur student of brain science and have come to understand that our outlook is normally negative. Because our species is neurologically wired or conditioned or habituated to look out for danger, to be on the lookout for danger. Right? We're not out hunting in the savannas anymore, where tigers might be stalking us in the high grasses, but that's our biology. That's the channel. That's the channel that our ancient biology is innately tuned into. There are other channels that we can watch that might give us a broader perspective on reality, but the negative news channel is the one that our bodies and minds are actually stuck on. But as I said in my February 21 sermon, mindset, rewiring your brains to see the positive things happening around you, we can train our minds to become less fearful by actively looking for the good in the world and in others. We can read books, magazines, and news journals that intentionally report on the positive things happening in the world. Our biology takes eons to evolve. But as I said in this sermon, we can compensate for this by readily transforming our mindsets to see the world in bigger, brighter, and truer ways than we can otherwise imagine. This power is a gift and a marvel of our existence that is too often squandered for fear of change. In other words, we are a species that has the power to evolve our minds or to change our mindsets within our own individual lifetimes. Evolution biologically takes millions of years, but we can each change our own minds in a lifetime. This is why several of my sermons last year were also philosophical in nature, to help us look at the world, at truth and meaning, from new angles, especially angles that help us flip the fear channel to better programming. These sermons were too many and their principles too deep for me to go into now, especially as I start wrapping up. Instead, I'm going to mention the few principles that are recurring in many of my sermons. Principles you will hear again in coming weeks and months, I'm sure, and that by now many of you will probably also recognize. Number one, the humanistic ethic requires that the sole criterion of all we do, technology, science, politics, legislation, education, criminal justice, economics, and so on, must be for human welfare and individual unfolding. That's the humanistic ethic. Everything we do is for the purpose of serving human welfare and individual unfolding. Number two, that the truth of the world is much larger and better than our pessimistic and fearful natures allow us to see. So don't let the fear obscure your view. Number three, that human beings are naturally good and have the desire and potential to do good. That's a humanistic perspective, right? But we're brought up in 2,000 years of the doctrine of original sin. We almost innately have a pessimistic view of human nature. You know, that's just human nature. You know, I know there's some rotten people in the world. I've encountered a lot of them. But for the most part, I don't. For the most part, the people I meet are kind-hearted people who want the same things I do, a peaceful world. They want to be in good relationships with others. They want to be helpful. They want to fix the problems that are negatively impacting us all. And when I ask people from different walks of life about this experience, they say, yeah, that's the same thing. Even people that are absolutely paranoid of people they've never met will say they don't really know any of those people in their own circles. It makes me think that most people, as the humanistic ethic, as the humanistic mindset requires us to accept, are good-natured, well-meaning, kind-hearted. It's hard to be a humanist and really accept the fallen nature, the negative nature of humanity. Okay, next is that our species can and will overcome our greatest challenges because there are already plenty of good people working on them. Not just us. Lots of people with the same concerns are already working on them. Next, all of us are at our best when we adhere to the Enlightenment principles that our society and our liberal religion was founded upon: freedom, reason, and tolerance. We are at our best when those are our values. That's a principle in my life. And let's see, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 20 more, so we'll be. No, I'm kidding. There's seven principles now that I think about it. So I'm not offering these up as the new 7 principles, but it just turned out that way. So number 6, don't be a pushover. Because some things are worth fighting for. And that means fighting over. Like freedom, reason, and tolerance. And finally, establish strong roots, then spread out everywhere while reaching for the sky. Establish strong roots, then spread out everywhere while reaching for the sky. As for what my sermons will cover in the coming months, I'm not yet sure, but I do know that you can look forward to more of the same. Thank you.
Well, we are going to end today with another Bob Dylan tune, Forever Young. I hadn't read these lyrics in some time, and I was delightfully surprised by really they're like a benediction. So please stand as you're willing and able to sing it. Stanton's going to lead us, and I get to be a background girl. So
Hardly. All right. Got words?
oh, should be. Yep, they're coming.
They're coming. All right. Here we go. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you always do for others and let others do for you. May you build a ladder to the stars and climb on every rung, and may you stay forever young, forever young, forever young. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you grow up to be true. May you always know the truth and see the light surrounding you. hands always be busy. May your feet always be swift. May you have a strong foundation when the winds of change shift. May your heart always be joyful. May your song always be sung. And may you stay forever young. Forever young. Forever young. May you stay forever young. Yeah. Great.
Our benediction is a poem by William Stafford entitled The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread, but it is hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.
Shalom.